Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Off the Clock podcast. I'm here once again with another interview. Last week we had Jeremiah Conaway on the show, but this week we are brought back with another TAMUK player, but this time on the women's basketball side. We had her on my Instagram and TikTok last summer whenever she first came in, and is none other than Kaylee Howell. Kaylee, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, off the clock, never needed no wristwatch. Toast up, cheers to life, but this ain't no pit stop. Hey, my words don't get you to the top. Speak life into the mic like Mike at 90, pass me the rock. The words will touch thousands on the block, without a doubt, but she's a reassurance on me, we lie. Hey, off the clock, baby, but we tuned in, dialed in. Feel like Cat, how we always winning, man. It's up.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to be here.
So first off, we want to just get to know who you are and Kaylee, who are you away from basketball?
Away from basketball, I would like to say I'm kind of like a joking, family-oriented person. Just like spending a bunch of time with family and friends, hanging out outside, working a lot, um, just trying to fill space with some different hobbies, but also being pretty relaxed and lazy when I'm not doing basketball,
If you
honestly.
can sleep in a day, you might take a little snooze.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're napping. We're napping.
Yeah, so right now it is the summertime. Obviously y'all are gonna start picking up here soon, but what has the summer and the off season been like for you so far?
Yeah, so it's been a little bit of juggling some summer workouts along with class, internships, and work. So I started off the summer with a internship on campus for 6 weeks, and that was a great experience. While also taking two summer classes, and then just finished up the internship. I'm still finishing the summer classes through the full summer, and picking up some shifts at a restaurant back home that I work at to make some money, and then still being able to get into the gym and lift and run throughout the week too.
So saying keeping yourself busy majority of the time.
Very, yes. It's been probably one of my busiest summers, honestly, in college, just because of the class and the internship and then work.
Yeah, I can feel you from there because I mean, I work here for Holland Athletics, and then also I'm taking two. I just started my master's program, so I'm taking two classes currently, and let's just say I'm not a huge
Yeah.
fan of the classes, but they're
No,
being taken.
summer class is not fun. Whenever I'm sitting down and like doing homework and I'm just like looking outside and I'm like the sun's out, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Because it all gets compacted into just a few weeks of what would usually be like a 3 month course. It's just
Yeah,
it's just down to 3 4 weeks.
yeah. That's honestly, this one's been okay because it's like a 10-week course, but I've taken a couple 5-week courses in the past in the summer, and you can't do anything else really. Actually, it's hard. Like I did Chem 2 in the summer 1 year in 5 weeks, and I was doing nothing but chemistry. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's not that much fun. I'm learning. Let's just say I'm learning a lot of new stuff that I probably wouldn't have learned at all before.
No. Yeah.
But I'll go ahead and I want to go back to whenever you were younger. You are from Rockport, Fulton, if I'm not mistaken, and how has it been growing up there? What was your experience like growing up in Rockport?
Oh, it was awesome. I always talk about how I'm pretty spoiled and privileged to be able to grow up in like a tourist vacation town, and it was super cool. It's like a small community in the school wise, so everyone that I went to elementary and kindergarten with, I graduated with for the most part. Um, it was tougher on the athletics side for honestly, we had a pretty competitive like athletics. We were a 4A high school, so not super big. But if you played in this kind of level, wanting to get out and advance your athletic career, took a lot of extra work, extra summer work, a lot of traveling to different parts of the country, definitely all over Texas. just because we don't have a lot of those opportunities down here. I mean, Corpus is big, but you really get into the higher level of basketball when you venture out. So, other than that, it's great to be in a small town. It's awesome to live by the beach, but you know, there's still a lot of traveling there to be able to pursue collegiate sports.
Yeah, because I think I've talked to quite a few people about that same thing. I mean, down here in South Texas, kind of the Tulsa Bend area, you might not get as much exposure as you would if you were, say, like in a San Antonio or Houston or those Dallas areas where those are heavily populated. You mentioned Corpus being like the one big town, but out of Texas, that's the smallest big town that we got
Yeah.
here in Texas. So not much light gets shined there. But you mentioned going and traveling a lot, and I saw that you played a bit of AAU. Uh, how was how was that experience having to go travel and play in the AAU on an AAU team?
Yeah, it was basically like my whole life in the summer. So like being busy in the summer is not rare to our family. I started, I think in fourth grade. I was maybe, yeah, third or fourth grade. I was kind of starting to play, and I remember I got on a team in San Antonio actually. So my mom and I shoot checking out of school like an hour or two early on some days, and we would drive up to San Antonio and go to practice or go play and then drive back. At the time I had family living up there, so we kind of turned it into little weekend trips especially, but that was the earliest I remember being in fourth grade and like leaving class and being like, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to play basketball. That's why I'm leaving class. And they're like, well, you're missing recess. And I was like, yeah, that's not, it's not as cool sometimes, but and then every summer since then it's been like that, and until I kind of get to the age where I could drive 16, 17, and then going on some trips to Houston, Dallas and stuff by myself, playing hundreds of games in the summer, multiple games a day, multiple games a week, a weekend. um, Lots of commitment for not only me but like my family. Like if anyone knows it, like my brother, he's going to be a sophomore on the baseball team in Kingsville, and our family had to juggle that. So one weekend, Dad's going with Sean to watch baseball, and me and Mom are going to Houston or something, and then they switch off to be able to watch everybody. But it's a tough thing that a lot of people who don't really um, pursue like an extra level consider. I had to tell a bunch of friends like, no, I'm going to Dallas for a week. I can't do this or can't go on trips anymore because our trips were traveling to San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Georgia, all those places. So it was a
Yeah,
lot.
it's some of the times where you want to hang out with some friends on the weekends, you can't because you got to
Yeah.
go somewhere and compete.
Hmm.
Uh, who was it growing up that really got you into sports, or has the family just always been into sports? Because I know your mom uh played here as a basketball player as well. So
Hmm.
did that have a lot to do with you getting into basketball?
Yeah, we are just a sports family. Both my grandparents actually ran track and swam at the Ohio State University, so it goes all the way back
Okay.
there. And then yeah, my parents both played in college, and but I do remember, just being younger, and me and my childhood best friend, both of our moms were coaches at the high school, and so a lot of days were just spent in the summer, like having to go up and stay in the gym with them while they work or had practice. And so it was just kind of like a given that, we'd just be playing, be hanging out. I do remember some early days of like going kind of down the street from my grandparents' house, and this like old concrete court with a basket that was all grown over and stuff, but shooting with my granddad out there. And then he had a goal like cemented into their driveway that my mom and her sisters used when they were younger at the same house. And so then we'd always have like family Thanksgiving games growing up. We didn't do football or anything for Thanksgiving. We played basketball in the driveway. And it was like Easter and Thanksgiving. We'd always do that there. And than just friends, running around the neighborhood and doing stuff like that. So it was always a given in the family, but I would say like my mom was like, basketball is one of the sports you're going to start doing young, and my granddad loved it too. So that's just kind of the way it went.
And is it just you and Sean, or do y'all have any other siblings?
Yeah, no, it's just me and Sean. So I think it was kind of the same way with him and my dad for baseball. So it's kind of just like
Mhm.
everyone's just been around sports the whole time. I do remember a brief moment in time where I was begging my dad to let me play baseball in high school because he was the baseball coach. Because I did not want to play softball, and I never played softball. But I was like, I want to play baseball, and he was like, no.
You didn't want to play. You didn't even want to try softball. You just wanted to play baseball.
Yeah, I didn't even think about trying softball. I was like, that's not happening.
Growing up, who was more athletic? Was it you or Sean?
I think it's me. Honestly, I think it's me because not even just in like a competitive way where I want to say that, but like I think that I'm just more agile and play some more. He was football quarterback and baseball. He tried basketball, hated it. Um so I think I'm just a little bit more agile in all the movements. As a quarterback, I don't know. I watched him, but I didn't really know much about football. And then he pitches, so he doesn't move around a whole lot. But we were working out in the gym the other day together, and I talked to our strength coach about this a lot. But I love it, but I also hate it because he just won't let me do the weight that I'm supposed to do. He always adds like 5 or 10 pounds to it, and then if I'm struggling, he's like, "Nope, you got it. You got to get it up." And then he'll say that my form's wrong and try to coach me, and I'm like, Sean.
Leave me alone. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Growing up, how competitive was it in that household with y'all two? Were y'all very competitive? Because y'all are close in age too, so
Yeah.
y'all were around the same age and size a lot growing up. So how was the competitiveness?
Well, honestly, like I think I think we were like pretty close and didn't compete and stuff a whole lot. And also like I mean anyone who's seen us, like, we're tall people, we're a tall family, but Sean didn't grow very early. So I was always so much bigger than him that it was always the mom would be like, one day he's gonna be bigger and stronger than you and he's gonna hit you back, sort of thing. But I don't know if we did a lot together competing actually because
Mhm.
I wasn't very good at any sort of baseball stuff and he was not very good at any sort of basketball stuff. And then things if we're just like kind of running around in the yard or stuff, I was just like at that age where I was bigger and faster and he just like couldn't keep up. But when we got older, it is probably more competitive. But then once again, it's like we'll go lift together or run and we'll be trying to like jog with each other. And then of course he's speeding up and I'm like, why are you doing that? Now I gotta speed up. And then he speeds up or lifting, but I mean, he can clearly lift way more than me. So yeah.
And so now I want to talk a little bit about your high school. You were a pirate, if I'm not mistaken, also.
Mhm.
How was your experience there at Rockport Fulton?
It was awesome. But like I said, I had my granddad worked in the school system. He was my cross country and track coach. Yeah, my mom was there until I got to high school, and then she moved to a different school. And my dad was my teacher and a coach too, but he was mostly on the men's side. But I mean, it was great. Like it was, like I said, I grew up there and in the offices, in the gyms, on the track. Got checked out of school to travel to a lot of the playoff games whenever they made it far. So I was pretty used to being in the athletic side, being in those weight rooms and gyms. Um, but it was great. I think we had a lot of really good competition across the board. We had a really good female athletic side. Like we just my graduating class, we had a ton of athletes across the board, which was super cool, and that made it really competitive because everyone was kind of competing with each other to show who could go the furthest in playoffs or who was getting the most dubs or anything. But I think we all worked together really well. And I had a couple different coaches in high school for basketball, but I ended up having a really good one that kind of helped me get momentum going to start like getting into college recruitment. She sat me down and she was like, "Do you want me for my senior year?" She sat me down and said, "Do you want me to coach you like you're going to play college basketball, or do you want to have fun and have a good senior year and move on with your life?" And I was like, at that point, I wasn't really sure, which was kind of crazy because of the amount of money and time spent on traveling AAU and stuff. Like it had always been in the back of my mind, but I was like, yeah, like I want to try to pursue going to play in college. And she was like, okay, I can do that. And so, she was on me every day about working hard and getting better. But then she also reached out to a couple people. She got me in contact with Coach Madrid out of high school, too, even though I didn't come here till 3 years after. But um, she helped me a lot with that. And it was just a really, really awesome ride, I think, to finish off, playing in Rockport. There were a couple of bumpy roads along the way, a couple times where I almost had to move, but I got to stay in Rockport, finish competing in track, volleyball, and basketball, and yeah, it was pretty cool to say that I got to graduate from there. And then like a year after, they got all this new weight room and fancy stuff too, so I was like, oh, that's cool. That
They always
wasn't
get the
what I
nice
was.
things after you leave. They always
They
get the nice
did.
stuff after you leave.
They did, yeah.
And I mean, I got this from your UIW bio, and I want you to correct me if it's wrong, because I saw these numbers. I was like, holy, that's one hell of a junior year where you averaged 19 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals per game.
That's for high school, right?
Yes, that's for high
Like
school.
I,
Yes, yes, high school.
I was like, I didn't play my junior year. Um, okay,
That's
well,
one hell of a junior year. Don't get me wrong.
yeah. Well, my junior and senior year were awesome there. Like, I mean, I really kind of got back into like that's when that coach came in and she really helped me find myself. After a moment where I almost like quit basketball actually after my sophomore year, just with some coaching experiences and some other stuff that was happening. But I mean, she was great for me, like personally, helped me become a better person and also a better athlete. Um, and yeah, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I kind of dominated a little bit.
Yeah, I
It,
mean, in 2022, I went all the way back. I had to go through some Facebook research and start looking through some posts. Uh, in 2022, you were named your district's offensive MVP. You were named to the All-Region team. You were Caller Times All South Texas MVP. How did it feel earning some of those awards? And I mean, you finished your career there at Rockport with over 1,900 points and 1,300 rebounds. Like, yeah, but I don't know, just how did
yeah,
it
it
feel getting
was
all
it was a I mean, it was awesome, but I did always have to kind of being a coach's kid was kind of like a big issue that I had. A lot of people thought that I was in the position that I was because I had family and family friends that were coaches at the school. And so I kind of always had to live with that. And I think I kind of always played down everything that I did because I didn't want to talk about it too much or like act like I was rubbing anything in anyone's face. And I had a really hard time with like just not confidence, but like, being able to take pride in things that I did do just because of that. Like it was a big issue in Rockport where it was just like, I mean, no matter even statistically, I could do something and people would still say that, she's the coach's daughter. Her parents are best friends with the coaches. Her parents are friends with the superintendent and like the athletic director and all that. But that wasn't true. So, a lot of it was just a lot of grind and a lot of hard work. And like I said, I just had a great coach and um, a great team with me, and it made things, really easy to do all that. And just getting on those lists and getting those awards was kind of something that was expected. Also, being just like an athletic family sort of thing growing up,
that?
so it was like I had to strive for that and everything that I did because if I didn't, like, then I was doing something wrong. So yeah, I worked really hard on that, and I kind of hate saying it, but I know that it is like its own thing, but it's kind of like whenever you have like a people ask like, what hobbies do you do? What hobbies do you have? What else do you do? Like I don't really have anything other than
Mm.
basketball because that's like all that I did and all that I worked for. I mean, clearly like I did other things, but like I'm not like a hobby type person or like have anything else going on. Like I said, this is my first summer like interning and doing something other than basketball in the summer. So it was kind of like that, just my whole life growing up. But I did kind of figure out a way to manage it whenever I got into college and especially coming to Kingsville helped me out a lot, but it was great. It was a lot of fun. And sometimes I go across some old pictures and stuff and see like, oh man, high school was cool because it was so much easier. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your hobby growing up has been basketball. I mean, that's been
Mhm.
your hobby this whole time. And I wanted to ask because I think that's something you mentioned is what you see a lot. You see what a lot of people mention. You said that you're a coach's kid, and how a lot of people on the outside may look at it and be like, oh well, of course she's gonna have this little extra stuff to her because she's a coach's kid. But I mean that's a lot of times that's not true at all. That makes it, I feel like, so much harder because you have to maybe exceed some expectations that people have of you because you are a coach's kid. So did you feel like that made you work that much harder just because you're not just a coach's kid? You are a player. You are a baller. You didn't get here because you know the coach. It's because you worked hard to get there.
Yeah, definitely. It was something like that because, like I said, I just had to keep bringing up as many stats as I could just to prove that this isn't something that you can get just because you're a coach's kid. But then the other thing that I kind of mentioned that I say a lot is a lot of those awards and stuff are almost watered down sometimes because it's like you should be getting those, you should be working hard, you should be getting the 1,000 points and all that stuff. So it's tough to deal with, but also I think that some people understand. It's a lot of people that don't understand, but it's like everything else in life. The people that matter are going to see the work that you put in, and the people that don't, it doesn't matter what they say or what they see.
Exactly. And the next thing I want to talk about, you mentioned uh, it was your senior year whenever your coach sat you down and asked you how you wanted to be coached. When did it start becoming a reality to you that like, hey, I could play at the collegiate level?
Well, I mean, ever since I was younger and playing basketball, just because Rockport was kind of so small and we didn't have a whole lot of people out of Rockport that went super big to do anything. But I remember having people always be like, you're gonna go D1, you're gonna go to the W, stuff like that. Just like just that they're saying because I was like 12. Like they're saying that when I'm 12, not
Mhm.
now. But so it was always like in my mind, like I've got to go play college basketball because everybody is saying that I'm playing college basketball. And then, like I said, I had a bunch of ups and downs where I was like, do I want to? But then I was like, well, we've already spent all this money and all this time traveling to try to. So it was a lot of back and forth. And then I also had um, a position coach for my summer league team that I played in the summer before my senior year, and he has 9 kids who are all Division 1 athletes. And they're crazy. Like Aaliyah
Like
Roberson.
9 of his own kids.
Yes, and him.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Like one of them played like volleyball and basketball at Texas. One of them is, I think she's at like Arkansas now. I can't remember where she went. But yeah, they were insane. And he was like, and I never paid a dime for their college degrees, and they all have college degrees. And he was like, yes, like basketball is important, but also you have a gift, you have the skills, you have the work ethic to use basketball to your advantage, to get a degree. And that's something that my granddad and I talk about a lot is being able to be that athlete that also knows, like I need a degree because once these 4 or 5 years are over, I've got to be able to do something with it. And so it was a mix between that conversation and then also my high school coach and when she had that conversation with me, it made me like really have someone who actually put it in direct terms. It's like, I believe that you can go play college basketball. I can help you as much as I can, but you got to put in the work and make the decision. And so, yeah, we had a lot of those conversations, a lot of those throughout the year. I remember mid games if I was just like kind of off or something, she'd get out of a timeout and she was all of 5'4" maybe. She'd get up in my face and she'd grab the neck of my jersey and she'd be like, just yelling stuff at me, some stuff that I probably shouldn't repeat, but and I'd be like, yeah, you're right. And then I'd go out and change it. And then she'd be like, okay, I love you. And I'd be like, okay, thanks. But, just having people believe in you. That's just the biggest thing when it comes down to it. That helps out.
And your recruiting process, how was that process for you? Everybody has their different stories and everything. How did it go for you?
It was fun. It was great. It was overwhelming and scary and busy. Like that, it's a little bit of everything because like I said, I kind of just also kept going into this process of just being like, yep, this is just the next step. This is just what you do. And my thought process was I'm going to keep going along with this basketball thing until it doesn't. And then, it did end up working out. But, the constant phone calls with coaches, constantly having your phone on, um, being with friends. And like one time I was with a friend and we were just kind of like hanging around on a walk at the park. And I was like, I'm sorry, I have to take this. All of a sudden she's sitting waiting for me to have a 45-minute phone call with someone. And she's like, what could y'all have been talking about? And I was like, literally everything. But it was a big learning process. I think that it helped me become a better speaker and communicator. And also like learning about myself, learning where I'd want to be um physically, mentally, emotionally in life. Like I kind of always imagined myself like taking off and going somewhere far away, and then now I live an hour away from home. And I realized that that's where I should be, because I'm just like one of those people, very family oriented. So it was a lot of fun, but it was really stressful. And I do remember some times where I was like, I do not want to talk to this coach. I do not want to go there. I do not want to do this. But, my dad was like, answer every phone call, talk to them. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who they're going to talk to and
Mhm.
what doors it's going to open up.
And so when did UIW end up coming across the picture for you?
Yeah, so that was a camp I did not want to go to at all. I can say this because I've told my old coach this. I remember like I'm talking to them and it was one of those schools where dad was like, just talk to them, just to talk to them. You're never gonna end up there, but talk to them just to talk to them. And so I did. And then they invited me to a camp and my mom woke me up and she was like, we're going to camp, we're driving to San Antonio. I was like, I really do not want to go. And I went to the camp and I was like, man, I so badly don't want to be here that I'm just gonna like go play basketball. I'm just gonna go ball like the whole camp. And then, halfway through the camp, coach comes up to me and is like, hey, text your mom to come over. I'd like to talk to you in the office after. And he offers me and I wasn't super sure on it, but once again, back to my high school coach. Me and her were standing outside the gym talking and I was telling her about it. And I don't know why this is so funny to me and why this is what I remember, but she was just like, I thought that I wanted to be really far away too. And then I realized I didn't. And I was like, it's just San Antonio, blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, well, you can always bring your laundry home for your mom to do it. And I was like, and I don't know why that's the one thing that stuck with me in that conversation. And then, we went back for a visit and talked to them and I liked it. And I think being out of a small town for a little bit was good for me. I was down to move into the city for a bit and I'm super grateful for it because some of my best friends are from there and I'm still communicating with them and visiting them. But, then the time came and an opportunity arose and I'm so glad that I was able to make my way back to Kingsville because it's probably been the best past year of my educational and athletic career and just life in general. So, sometimes I feel like it really is a full circle moment. Like maybe I really needed to go to San Antonio before coming back here. And Coach Madrid and I joke about that a lot. And he's always like, don't bring it up. I told you so. Because he was recruiting. And I said no. And he was like, I told you so.
And so you spent 2 years there at UIW. How were those 2 years for you, creating the foundation for you to eventually come back, and how were those experiences, and what would you take away from your time there?
Yeah, so I was there for 3 years, but I played for two. So I had a hip surgery my third year, and so I redshirted before coming down here. But it was great, and I really think it was a great opportunity. We had great strength coaches. Really taught me a lot more. 'Cause I strength trained a lot in high school, and then went over there, and it was great learning a lot. Starting earlier in the summer is a lot more discipline than some people are used to. You have to say goodbye to the whole month of July and move up there and start practicing again for 8 hours. And then I think the best kind of part of it was, it being a mid-major Division 1, and the travel. We got to go to a bunch of places. We went to Baylor Tech. I stepped on the floor, played in front of a sold out Texas Tech arena with screaming children. One of the school days, those kids can scream. I'll tell you that. But just being able to travel like that, and the work that and that puts you in a position to see those girls that are in the the higher Division 1s, and you see where you're kind of in comparison to them, and you see firsthand what they do differently and kind of how they train differently, how they play differently versus just watching it on TV. So it's like it's a good learning experience, a good building block. And then the people there were amazing. Living in San Antonio was super cool, lots of opportunities to go just do anything. You're not really limited to just whatever you have in Kingsville to eat. If you want to go get something to eat, you can go find whatever you want. Um, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And I was never the person. I was never going to transfer. I was like, I don't really think that the transferring thing's for me. I committed here. Um, but that's just a thing that shows you how like life changes, because then it turned out to be perfect, and the opportunity that I really needed, even though it wasn't something I was originally looking at.
Yeah, and that was gonna be my next question. When you entered the transfer portal, was TAMUK already a school that you had in mind? Because you mentioned you talked to Madrid prior to you going to UIW. Was TAMUK already a place you wanted to go to, or did it just eventually pop up when after you entered?
Yeah, so actually that was funny because what the reason I had gotten into the transfer portal was because my old coach who had left there was going somewhere else in the conference. And
Mhm.
so I actually kind of hopped in there for that because I at first had no intention of transferring, like I said. But then with coaching differences and that coach moving, I was like, it's either continue to play basketball and go over there, or hang it up and just finish school, graduate, and leave. And so I got in the transfer portal, and I was getting a few random emails and calls from some people. But I remember telling my dad on the phone, I was like, I'm only gonna go if like Texas or Kingsville calls me. Like I was just like, no in between, no in between. And it was kind of a joke because I hadn't talked to Coach Madrid in so long, and I honestly had thought about it. I was like, he's gonna be so mad if I try to reach back out. There's like he would never, he wouldn't. And so one day I was not really looking into anything, and I was like scrolling on Instagram, and Javelina women's basketball page popped up, and I was like, oh, I forgot that I don't follow them. So I followed them, and probably like a couple hours later, I get a text from Coach Madrid, and he's like, are you going to Louisiana?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Do you still want to play basketball?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Call me." And that's literally how that went. And so then I called Sean first, and I was like, "Hey, I have an opportunity to go play at Kingsville. Would you be okay with that, or do you want to like do your own thing? Because we've been so close our entire lives. Like he never got to go do his own thing, and I did in San Antonio. So I was like, I will honestly respect it and figure something else out if you kind of want your space and want to do your own thing. And he sent me this really sweet text, which is, weird because we don't really talk to each other like that a whole lot. But he was like, I'd actually really appreciate it, and it'd be great to go to school with you again. And I was like, I was crying, and I was like, don't tell him this. If anybody's watching this, Sean, if you're watching, I did not cry. It was not sweet. Um, so then he was like, yeah, it'd be great. And so then I started talking with Coach Madrid more, came down, met Logan, walked around with them in the summer. It was more just to see the apartments. I was already convinced that I was coming down here, but I just wanted to see the apartments. And then talked to Coach Madrid for a good long time, and like we were talking about earlier, he's just funny and a good guy to talk to. So it was pretty easy. And then, I drove home that day and called him back and was like, Coach, I think, yeah, I would love to come play for you. He was like, Kaylee, that's awesome. And then it was actually Sean's like senior home game for baseball. And I felt really bad, like telling my family and like friends around, because I was like, today's supposed to be about Sean. But that's just what I do. I just take the spot from Sean for everything. So,
Yeah,
but
he can't have it for too long.
no, he gets like 10 minutes max. And that was like his graduation.
And I believe when you say that those first text messages that Madrid sent to you after you followed, I believe that those are the exact
That's
words he used
that's
for that.
exactly how it went. It was
And
really
so and so how did it feel coming back and be able to play not too far away from home where you have family and friends that can come see you on a weekly basis?
yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I as social as I am, kind of have a hard time like wanting to be super social and making friends. So, I was nervous. It felt like starting like a new school. Like it felt like you were like in high school or middle school moving to a new school, because Kingsville is kind of like just the right size where people in like departments know each other. And I remember
Mhm.
like the first couple of days of school for the fall semester and even the spring semester, people would be like, "Are you new?" And I'm like, "How do you know? We're in college. Like this isn't high school.
Yeah.
Like how are you recognizing?" So I was nervous for that, but it was really nice to have family and friends around and having Sean around. And then it was also just super cool. I remember like every home game when we stand and do the national anthem, I always look up at one of the conference championship banners that we have, because that's a team that my mom played on. And so we do this thing where I'll look up at the banner and then I look over to my mom in the stands, and she's always like basically crying, and she's always just like, and then I'll say, and then I'll look back. And so it's really cool. It's like playing for more than just basketball, because it's just like a big part of my life and my family's life. And that's just the way Kingsville is. It's a super family oriented community. So like it feels like everything matters to everybody playing there, especially with so many like local people. So it almost feels
Yes.
like its own community, because like not everybody, a lot of our teams kind of from all over the place, but like, I mean, me and Logan basically grew up in the same area, just like an hour away from each other. And a lot of other people in other sports are still, and even just like other students, everyone's kind of from around here, and you can make connections with people. And I don't know, so it's really cool and it's really nice, and it's a great opportunity place to play for.
And that's what I want to ask next, because coming into the team last year, I mean, you're looking at a completely new women's basketball roster. We only had three returners from the year before, and the rest just completely new. How long did it take, do you feel like, for you and everybody on the team to get it to really mesh well with each other and become pretty good friends with each other?
Yeah, becoming friends was actually really quick and really easy, I think. And I think it's the way that like everyone kind of like we were all grouped together, like roommates wise.
Yeah.
Um, and that like I don't remember any sort of issues, no problems, like not even really any slow like getting to know each other. I think because Coach Madrid kind of has us communicating early enough in the summer. We do book clubs, and we're on Zoom together. And then with like social media and stuff, it's really easy to like kind of get to know people and be in contact. And like Casey and Logan and Addison were all super great at like reaching out and texting me happy birthday or just, being in contact. And so when we all got here, it didn't really feel like we didn't really know each other. Like there's the basics, like just
Mhm.
knowing people. But yeah, I personally didn't feel like there was a super big gap. Um, and then we did a bunch of team bonding stuff really early, and just getting up together at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning makes you friends anyways when you got to go work out and run some pretty tough conditioning workouts. Um, I mean yeah, we just molded together really quickly, which I think is why it was a little frustrating when it felt like we couldn't mesh like basketball physically wise. Like we definitely had like a little bit of a hard time doing that, but I don't think it was really because anyone was selfish or trying to, or just like we just couldn't fit a groove. And I think that that's going to happen when you have 11 new pieces coming together for a puzzle.
Yes.
Like it's tough. And Logan going back down, and Casey coming back from an injury, and Addison kind of only being the 100% full go person of the returning team, and then she was so young. Like, there was just a lot of new stuff to put together, which I think is kind of very rare. Which I think is why it was so great that we were so emotionally bonded, because it could have like probably broken us up more not hitting the basketball margins and
Mhm.
pieces together if we weren't so close. But we had that, so that's why I think we had a couple times where we were just a little extra frustrated over that, because it was like there's no reason we shouldn't be meshing. And so, but like I said, yeah, 11 new people have to put together, and with even a new assistant coach and a new GA, like there were only 4 returners if you include
Yeah.
Coach Madrid, which is not a lot of people. So
Yeah, and I think I had a few conversations like that. I mean, you look at the beginning of the season, you mentioned it. I mean, you had Logan go down, you had Casey coming back from an injury from the year before. Indy, who was supposed to be another big
mhm.
piece, ends up going down. So, and a lot of the time, y'all weren't even able to practice with maybe with 5-on-5, and
Yeah.
sometimes you were short some players at times. And I mean that I feel like that made it a little hard because the team dealt with quite a few injuries throughout the season. But uh, I mean, you mentioned the team was very young also. A lot of the players were young on the court, and I mean, I forgot who I was trying to look at this past year. Nobody graduated. No,
Mm-mm.
no one on the team
No.
graduated. So, and the thing that I like about this team, and I talked about it, that a lot of the players came back. That's what
Mhm.
I loved about this team, that we had a lot of the familiar faces that took a lot of reps and a lot of playing time out on the court, that they came back, and they can help grow another year in this system and play another year with Madrid, and everybody get along with each other. So I think that's huge, especially having some of those players come back like Logan and Indy. Hopefully when they come back, they're 100%. So I mean, it, I'm glad a lot of the kids came back because I think I I think that this team has a lot of potential this coming year and this next year, because I feel like you saw it throughout the second half of the season,
Yeah.
a huge turnaround on the team. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel like it was the same way. Like, you were saying like we were really young, and that was even something that, we had me, Katie, and Casey are technically like the 3 oldest, but like, Casey had a couple injuries that put her behind. I had injuries and also like didn't have a huge leadership role on my last team. I mean, Katie is a true senior. She's the only true senior now. And she was kind of the only one with experience, because being from her past community college, like sophomores are considered the seniors. But that's still young for her to come in, and then she's also new. So like the experience level was still kind of low too. But I think it was almost kind of unique that we could all grow and learn that stuff together. So when Coach Madrid calls, and, he talks to us a lot about like who we think leaders are. And I'm like, well, what kind of leadership are you talking about? Because I think that everybody brings something to the table on that. And I think it's because we all grew and like kind of learned how to be leaders together. And so we've got a bunch of leaders working together, um, which is great. And then I remember this season, I really think things turned around like at the Christmas break. We went to Vegas
Yes.
and we played in that tournament and we were playing against some like championship level teams. And I mean, we didn't catch a dub, but we played really well. And I think that was kind of needed for us to be like, guys, we can play like this. Like this is in us, like regularly. Um, and I think that that helped. And then, a little bit of Christmas break, a week off for everyone to just mentally reset. And then we came back and we had things starting to like move in an upwards direction. And I think because we saw like our capability, and then, we still didn't come in the get to the position we wanted to be in. But I mean, I hate using it. I hate saying it, but like it was kind of a learning year. It just kind of sucks that, a couple of us only have a season or two left to play. But I mean, it's about building a program over like individual years. Like clearly we want successful years, but I want to be able to come watch the girls in 5 years and, know that we were kind of the like building blocks to
Mhm.
that. Which I think is the potential that we have. So that's kind of exciting to see develop. So, but like you said, with a lot of returners coming back and a lot of like important players coming back, I think that we have really high standards and really high goals that I think we're going to be able to accomplish this upcoming year.
And looking back at this whole season and including all the team hangouts and team activities that y'all did, what was one of your favorite moments that you'll take away from this past year?
Okay, one of my favorite moments was not a good moment. um, this is just something that I'm always gonna tell is our trip. I think it was to Vegas for Christmas. I can't remember. I think it was. Maybe it was Utah. I don't remember where we were going, but we just had the worst luck with flying all year. All year. We never once. I think the only time that we flew without any complications was on the way back from Vegas, and I didn't even go because I left with my family to go to Christmas. And but we had flown to Dallas and then we were all over the place. But anyways, our flights got canceled so much that we were not going to make it to the tournament if we were trying to like get on the flights. And then also no bags. No bags made it to us. So we're like driving to we're in New Mexico. And we're driving to we have to drive from like Houston to New Mexico, wherever we were, and like nobody has any bags. And we stopped at Walmart and we were picking out pajamas because we didn't have anything to sleep in because we just had our travel gear. And me and Caitlin were getting matching pajamas. And I was like, guys, this is pretty like traumatizing, but it's also kind of fun. And they were like, they were like, Caitlin, we've been up at 4 a.m. and we've been on a bus with no blankets, no towels. And we're like, Coach Ryan had to go just get like a dozen travel sized toothbrushes and stuff because like we didn't have anything. And then I just thought that was a great bonding moment because like it was every turn. It was like, okay, we got like 4 bags. Luckily, one of them was a uniform bag because we almost had to wear the other team's uniforms because we didn't have.
Oh my God.
And then it's like, okay, and the 5 of y'all still don't have bags, and we'd be like, and then like we drove to the next place, and it's like, okay, we got some more bags, but some of y'all still don't have bags. And I think it was like
Yeah.
me, T, and Justine who ended up not getting our bag at all that trip. And they came a week later, and Coach Madrid had picked him up from the airport in Corpus. So it was not fun at all, but I really just think like we had so many of those moments that it really feels like these girls are family because it's like we were all stuck in that situation together. Like we went into the gas station and bought blankets for the bus ride because we had like a 9-hour bus ride and we had nothing with us. So I don't know, but that was in the middle of the season. Preseason one that was good was Coach Madrid got us Hooks tickets, and that was a lot of fun. We went and ate at B&J's and then went to a Hooks baseball game, and that was early on where you're still just kind of making conversation. And we're like a couple of us drove, so we're in the car and we're like, what kind of music do you guys listen to? Like, you like jazz
What's
sort of
the
thing?
vibe
Like,
like? What are we doing
was
here?
like, what are we doing? And then it's like also introduced to four people's um, driving skills, and so then I would like to say that I'm a good driver, but I do get kind of nervous when I have to like prove that I'm a good driver. And so I was like, but I don't know. That was a lot of fun, and we had a bunch of moments like that, and I've talked with Coach Madrid a lot about like really implementing those into this upcoming season too. So I can't really wait for everyone to get back because I'm already coming up with ideas for like game nights, movie nights,
Mm.
hanging out at the apartment pool, maybe play some categories in the pool and just get to know each other more. So I'm really excited for that because this is one of the first times I've actually been super close with the team that I've been on, and yeah, I realize how great it can be.
Yeah, I remember throughout the season that it just like every single trip y'all had when y'all came back, it was always something new where y'all couldn't
Uh,
catch a flight, y'all had to drive somewhere else. And then I remember those bags because I remember y'all coming back and they were talking about like who doesn't have them? And there was like three or four of y'all that didn't have
yeah,
any bags still, which was
yeah,
that stuff is wild. Don't know how it happens,
I don't
but
either.
it only happens to y'all.
Yes, it does. So I'm like, guys, we're driving. We're driving to Tampa. We're not
Let's
flying.
just drive this coming year everywhere.
I
Forget
was
it.
like, I was like, that was brutal. It was, but like I said, I mean, that's crazy memory that we're gonna be able to tell people. That we were stuck in the airport in Dallas or sat in the airport in Corpus, spent all our per diem, and then had to drive back to Kingsville to sleep for like 3 hours to get on another plane. It was, yeah,
So I wanted to ask, we've talked already about how your brother is also here at TAMUK, and you mentioned how y'all had that conversation, whether if he would like you to be here or not, and everything. Y'all both being here, and of course, if people have not seen it, y'all did poses of on the
yeah.
basketball court, you in your uniform, him and his. Uh, how does it feel to be at the same university as your brother and be able to spend time with each other? Of course, either him coming to support you at your games or you going to support him. How does it feel for him to be around as well?
It's really awesome. Like I said, don't tell him any of this, but I mean, it's nice having him around because sometimes we actually had a class together in the fall that was really fun because it was like a morning class. So I'd be like, "Hey, you grabbing tacos today, or am I?" Or like, "You want to come eat at the apartment after? I'll make some breakfast or something, or make dinner." Um, but yeah, it's really nice. It's nice to have him around because like he came to a bunch of UIW games and he traveled when he could, but he was still playing, and so our seasons didn't match up a whole lot. So I didn't see him as much. And then he says that we didn't really talk a lot when I was in San Antonio, but that's not what I remember. So I don't know where he's at. But yeah, it's really nice to look over and see him in the stands, and then I get really proud and really nervous when he gets out on the mound. But it's nice to be able to watch him go out there, and then it's cool to just run into each other like baseball left before us, so we come in and uh after them, so kind of just meet in passing and running into each other on campus is kind of funny too because it's like it's weird, but it's not because it's like Kingsville's small enough, but then it's also like that's my brother. Um, and then yeah, just having him around's a lot of fun. Just I'll be like, "Want to watch a movie?" So we'll watch a movie together or something, or go get food or go to the library. So it's a lot of fun, and I am very grateful to say that like we definitely have a really good relationship compared to most siblings. But we're only like 3 years apart, and we grew up with our mom just screaming at us, "Why can't y'all love each other?" when we'd fight. So yeah,
Yeah, no, now I have this with my middle brother. I'm the youngest of three, but my middle brother, he's only 3 years older than me. And so growing up, of course, you're fighting all the time. You're always having arguments. And now he's in the military and he's stationed in California. So it's like, yeah, now I miss him, and now we talk more, and it's like more of oh, bro, I love you instead of I freaking hate you
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything.
exactly.
And my mom's like, you see that's what all those times what my mom would do. she'd get the biggest shirt she can, and she put both of us in that shirt and make us hug each other.
See, we
So
did
we're
not get
forced
that.
to be together.
I think we did have some forced hugs, but yeah, it was it's yeah, that it is kind of funny when you get old enough to realize like I guess mom was right. You know,
It's
like
like, oh, all right,
it's
yeah,
like, you
you're
know,
right. You're
3 years apart is enough to like really hate each other and be like, I don't want to hang out with my little brother when I'm in like middle school and stuff. And then like when I was a senior in high school and he was a freshman, I was like, little brother, and he was like, I'm too cool for you. And I was like,
right.
that's crazy.
Yeah, no. Well, the thing is, me and him, we didn't end up going to the same high school together because he went to academy
Hmm.
here in Kingsville, and when I was getting out of middle school, you had to apply and you had to go through this whole process to go to the school. Well, all my buddies who applied to academy, they were all taking these tests, all getting these interviews in order to get accepted in, and they all got mailed in the letter saying that they were accepted. I never got anything. I didn't get a thing. So I ended up going to my school in Rivera. And I was like, all right. I was like, I guess I'm gonna be here. My parents were like, we can go ask this and that. I'm like, well, if I made it, they would have told me something. They would have told Andrew something. Like, they haven't said anything. So I was like, it's whatever. I'll go to Rivera. Academy starts school, and all my friends are saying my name is getting called out in their classes.
So they just didn't like send it to you?
No, they didn't tell me anything. I
No,
just had nothing in the mail, no nothing.
that's so crazy. So did you end up, but you stayed in Rivera?
Yeah, I stayed there. I stayed there for all 4 years. I had times because I feel like my freshman year there was no point of transferring. So I was like,
Yeah.
whatever. It's already his senior year. It's my freshman year. I'm gonna just finish out here. And then after that, it got to the same point. It was like, well, my brother's not there anymore. I would only
Yeah.
transfer to be with my brother. So I was like, screw it. I'll be here. I'll be here at Rivera. And so spent the four my all my 4 years there. And to this day, they said even my sophomore year, they were still calling out my name in their classes.
That's so crazy.
And no, the wildest thing
Oh,
ever. Wildest thing ever. But hey, it is what it is. Things happen for a reason, I guess.
yeah.
But I'll keep this next
Dang.
thing. I want to keep it in the family as well. Recently, I've seen that you posted that you changed your number.
Hmm.
And I want to let you tell the people why you changed it and what's the meaning behind it.
Yeah, so it was really exciting. So I changed my number to 32. I've been back and forth between a bunch of different numbers, and like I like having numbers, but I've never been that person that like has a number because it really means anything. When I went into high school, I changed my number to 5 because there was this athlete who was number 5, and they played basketball, and whenever they left, I was like, can I be 5 like you? And they were like, yeah, you should. That'd be really cool. So then I was 5. And that was kind of my only reason for being 5. And then we've kind of lost touch over time, but they were super awesome. And then went to UIW, they didn't have 5, so I wore 2 because I was like, it's just an upside down and backwards 5, basically. Uh, and then when I came over here, Logan was 5, and then she changed to 0. And so Coach Madrid was like, "Five's open." And I was like, should I be 5 or 4? Because I thought about being 4 because it was open, and Sean has always worn 4. But then I was like, the odds of him being able to pick his number with baseball are like lower than in basketball. So I just went back to 5. And then last year I was like, dang, I was looking through some old pictures and saw some of my mom playing basketball in Kingsville in the same gym. And I was like, dang, I should have been 32. Like that makes so much sense because she was 32. I was like, I could have been 32 in Kingsville. And then I was like, wait, maybe I could change it for next year. And Renata was 32 this year. And I was like, Renata, can I trade jerseys with you? She was like, I don't care. I just picked this one. Um, and then yeah, so then when season was over, I was like, I called Debs on that one. And so I changed it. I told Coach Madrid I wanted it to be a secret and I wanted to like take pictures and show my mom. But I told my dad. I texted him when I was like trying on the jersey and stuff, and he was like, "That's gonna be so cool." And then the other day, we had family in town, and so I was showing them the gym, And I was like, Mom, I have to show you something in the locker room. And she was like, we're hungry. We want to go eat. And I was like, no, there's something in the locker room I have to show y'all. It's so cool. And so we walk in, and I'm so mad at myself because I should have videoed it because it was really cute. Or told Sean to video or something. But I was like, yeah, and that's my locker, Mom. And she was like, oh, cool. And I was like, that's my locker. Like, look. I was like, she doesn't even care. And she looks up and she goes, you changed your number to 32. And it was so cute and really sweet. But yeah, so that was her number. She said she always wore it for Magic Johnson. And I also have one of my best friends at UIW. She's 32, so I told her I changed it for her. But Georgia, I love you, but it's for Mom. But yeah, I did it because I was like, that's like that couldn't be any cooler. I'm gonna wear 32, play in the same gym, go to the same school, be in some of the same classes as my mom. Um, and so it was really important to me. And I didn't really think it was going to be that big of a deal. But then when I saw her reaction, I was like, it made me feel just, super connected, super close with her. And it was really sweet. And it's funny too, because I think back in like third grade, I remember we were making these, what are the triangle things that are for schools? Like pennants or something?
Yeah, the pennants. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were making those for like career day or not career day. I think we called it plotting the course. And it's like, you're just planning on like colleges and stuff. And it was like, where are you going? And I put Kingsville. And I was like, and then when I grew up, I was like, I'm not going to Kingsville. And then now I'm like, you know what? I think little me knew it was up. And, being back here, wearing my mom's number, playing in the same gym, her being able to come to like every game because she only works like 15 minutes away is super awesome. And like I said, it just means so much more than basketball at this point. And I'm, maturing enough to realize that. And I try to spread that to the younger girls too and be like, just like appreciate everything that basketball brings to you other than basketball, which is friends, traveling, life experiences, how to pack and not lose your bag on a plane, know, and then you never know. Like, what if later on, some of your kids are playing at your school too, and then it's a full circle moment. So it's just learning that there's so much more to life in basketball. And it's a great opportunity and great experience to, you know, just teach you more about yourself and life. So I love it.
And does your mom still, or did she ever tell you like her playing time stories and her playing here and on the team and
Yeah, a little bit, but she kind of talks about it more, and she'll be like, I cannot remember things. She's like, I remember like certain moments with friends. But the only thing she really says is she always says like, you were just so much bigger than me, but not like in a bad way, but like, and she's like, and you were better than I ever was. But it's just funny because like I think she was like bigger and taller, but we were not built the same at all. Like she was kind of skinny and agile, and I'm a little bit bigger, way taller and agile, not as agile sometimes. But no, she says that, she doesn't remember a whole lot of it, but she remembers like, the traveling and different coaches' stories. And one of her best friends is who she met here in Kingsville, because she actually played volleyball here for a year too. That was volleyball and track. Just, a fun fact. She just did that. And I was like, that's cool. But, one of her best friends is a college friend, and just talking about stuff and then going through pictures, she'll remember things, how the sponsors and some of the alumni were, and like the dinners that they hosted, kind of the trips they went on, just stuff like that. But she says she doesn't really remember much about playing. So, but it's still cool.
yeah, it must really be cool to be able to wear the same number that your mom did and play for the same university as well. And I mean I feel like that brings a different sense of meaning to basketball. That it's more than just a game as people always say. It's always about family and friends and everything. I mean, this is a huge thing to make it mean more to the family. One of the things that I like to talk about on my podcast is some of the off the court stuff. Like what is it that you're studying right now here at TAMUK?
What am I studying?
Yes.
So I am agricultural science focused in environmental science. Um, which it's been really awesome. I really like it. The classes here are super hands-on, and like I said, the community and the departments are really small. So I came in and I had the same professor 3 times a day for 2 days in the fall, and then I had her again like twice in the spring. And so she would always call me she'd call me her volleyball basketball girl, because at first she didn't remember which sport I played, and so she was like, "Hey, volleyball basketball girl, what sports are playing this weekend?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just play basketball." But no, so she's super nice, and having communication with the professors is awesome. I had invited one of my professors. He's an environmental science teacher and or professor, and I invited him for our faculty appreciation, and I mean it was so awesome because he was sitting there. He got there early. He was taking pictures of me warming up, and then he just had like the biggest smile on his face being there, and so like, it was awesome having him out there. And um, then my personal degree is it's a lot of science. It's a lot of plants and dirt, but it's really cool to me. So I love it. The team would always make fun of me because I had one class that was called integrated pest management, and I would call it my bug class. And I would always be late to practice because it like went right up to to where practice started. And I'd come in and they'd be like, "What bugs you learn about today, Kaylee?" They'd see a bug and they'd be like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "A roach." Like, and Coach Madrid would always be like, "So what are we learning about today?" And I was like, "Couldn't tell you." I don't know, honestly. I don't know how to translate it. Like, but it's cool. And I really like the academics over here. It's a lot of fun.
So there was one video that we did during the season, and if I'm not mistaken, it was the video where you guys tried to pronounce the Latvian words
Yeah.
from Indy, and one of them was cucumbers, and you said that you were building baby cucumbers. Was that true?
Yeah, I was growing cucumbers. They did not survive at all. I had a vegetable and crop production class, and that's the same thing. They'd be like, "Kaylee, how are your cucumbers? How's your cucumbers going?" But it was really tough. But I had 4 plants that I was, or not four, I had 24 individual plants, 4 different types, and I was growing cucumbers, jalapenos, tomatoes, and peas. And yeah, I was, just trying to take care of them, trying to keep them healthy, grow them. I ended up doing fine in the class, but I only ever harvested one pea pod. It was the only thing that I harvested.
What was
So
the most successful plant?
I think my tomatoes were doing really well, but then it was the end of the semester, and since I was like staying here for my internship, I told my professor, I was like, "Can I keep coming into the greenhouse and like checking on them and I wanted to try and bring them down here to my dad, but transporting that many plants an hour would be hard." And I was like, "We're not getting a U-Haul for those plants." So I was gonna keep checking on him, and then like the first 2 weeks of summer, I started my internship and got really busy, and I never went in there. So I can only imagine how dead they are right now. But I mean, it was stressful. I would go to the greenhouse at like 6 o'clock and be there for like 3 hours repotting and like tying plants up and like keeping them alive. And I was like, "Oh, this is a lot." But it was also fun. It was cool. Like one of my class periods a day was just going out to the greenhouse and like gardening, and everybody else was like in business or finance classes, and I was like, "Y'all make fun of me until you're doing math, and I'm just measuring tomatoes."
Nah, for real, yeah, I only had to take one math class throughout all this time, and it's like, all right, that's fun. I mean, yeah, I gotta write a paper, I gotta
Yeah.
write a story, but I mean, I'd rather be doing that than any calculus or
Oh,
anything
that's
else that they have.
that's me for sure. I am kind of nervous though because I am planning on mastering in environmental engineering. Um and so I got to redo those calculus and algebra and physics and stuff. Luckily I have my chemistries. Physics I did attempt at UIW, emphasis on the attempt. we did not. But my brother, he's one of the engineers. Can't tell you which one he's doing. It's either
Still
chemical.
one of them.
He's doing A, engineering, but he's pretty good with the numbers and the math, so he doesn't know it yet, but he will be helping me a lot.
Yeah, I think it was my junior year here. I took one. I was gonna take. I was gonna get rid of my one math class I needed to take. I forgot what class it was, but I was doing fine like the first 3 weeks. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm getting a good hang of this. I
I'm so
got this.
smart.
I was
I
like,
was
you
like,
know,
I'm
I
so
just made
smart.
it. I made a 95 on my test. All right. I was like, I could take a day off.
No, no.
I took that day off, went back. We had a test another day, and I made like a 40 in the on the test. I was like, I went to my academic advisor. I'm
I'm
not
done.
doing this.
I'm done. I gotta
I'm
get
done.
out of here. Yes,
So then
math.
I had to wait till the fall of this past year, and I took I can't even tell you what the name of the class was, but it wasn't even real math. It was, but it sounded
Yeah,
as
that's so crazy that those exist. And I'm like, thank you for people like me, but also like now I'm the science. I always say I'm the science with like the earth and the water and the bugs and plants, not the science with the chemistry and the numbers and the math. But I mean, I'm gonna have to change that if I
yeah,
really
we're
want
with the fun
to.
stuff over here, right? We're not with
Yeah,
the other stuff.
yeah, no, not the boring math. But I guess I'll have to figure it out at some point. But
Like they say, once you start putting the letters in math, that's when you lose me. Yeah.
yeah, or like the chemistry. Oh, chemistry was tough. I really am glad that I'm over that. Chemistry was hard.
So the next question I want to ask, and the reason why I brought up what you were studying now, uh, is life after basketball. Because eventually you mentioned it, and I think I've mentioned it with I asked this to everybody who's on my show. Eventually, the sport ends. There comes a time where you can't play anymore, or it just something happens where basketball is no longer around. And I mean, I had to call that time. I had to figure it out after high school,
Mhm.
and I had to figure it out quick that I wasn't going to play any further. But when basketball is over for you, and hopefully it's not for another few years, hopefully, uh, what do you see yourself doing after basketball?
So short answer, I don't know. Long answer, I've always been like, I will figure it out when I get there. Literally, I've people ask me all the time, what are you gonna do? Especially
Yeah.
now, only having like kind of a year left. Like, if I weren't to continue education, it's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, couldn't tell you. I couldn't even tell you what kind of jobs exist in my field. But what I always say is like environmental conservation and sustainability is really important to me. It's something that I advocate for as much as I can. And just in short terms, like take care of the planet and take care of animals in the water. And growing up on the beach and being around a lot of marine life and a very outdoors nature type person, it's really hard to see the kind of environment that we're creating and destroying and really infiltrating that I want to be able to help. I want to be able to do something and protect people who are in less privileged areas that need clean drinking water or need to be able to have agricultural crops. So I don't have an exact idea yet. I know that I need to start figuring it out, but this summer I researched microplastics in produce and was learning a lot, finding a lot of microplastics and other pollutants that's in our food. And now the next step is to try to figure out how do we get those back out because we've been contaminating the water, the soil, the air, and it's getting to our food, it's getting to human bodies. So, and then just also getting people to understand the importance of protecting things like that. So I'm really passionate about it, and I have a lot of different directions and opportunities I would like to look into. But for exact careers, I don't have a plan yet, but I have an overall goal and focus, and I want to be able to kind of make a difference in that.
No, I mean that sounds awesome. At least you have an idea of what you want to do afterwards. I mean, I feel you on the point where we get people asking you, "What's next? What's next?"
Hmm.
I don't
Nope,
know.
I don't
I sit at the dinner table with my mom, and she'd be like, what are you gonna do next?" I'm like, "Mom, once I find out, I'll let you know. All right, you'll be the
but you know,
first person I
we
tell."
we are on the same level right now. We both
Yeah,
do not know.
we're asking the same questions, Mom. That's all I know.
Honestly,
You're
when
asking
you
the same
figure it
thing as
out,
me.
let me know.
Yeah, just in case we're both looking at the same direction, just let me know what you think, and I'll let you know
Yeah,
what I think. All
yeah,
right.
that's 100% been me for sure.
But yeah, Kaylee, that's all I have. That's all the questions I have. And again, I want to thank you for joining the podcast. This was really fun. Like I
Yeah.
said in the beginning, we did a short, what was it, maybe 2.5 video last
Mhm.
summer. And I mean, now to have you on my podcast, it's awesome. I really appreciate you being on.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, it was cool. Sometimes I had to like kind of remember that we're not just chatting. Like other
Yeah,
people
yeah,
could
for a little bit there were a few times.
I was
Like to
like
start off the podcast, that I felt like we just got to a little chatting area there,
yeah.
just talking.
No, but it was a lot of fun, and you helped me kind of like put a lot of other thoughts into different perspectives and talk about some things I haven't talked about in a really long time and bring up some important people that I think, deserve recognition. So it was a lot of fun.
All righty, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jay, off the clock, never needed no wristwatch. Toast up, cheers to life, but this ain't no pit stop. Ayy, my words don't get you to the top. Speak life into the mic like Mike at 90, pass me the rock. My words will touch thousands on the block. Without a doubt, but she's a reassurance on me, we lie. Ayy, off the clock, baby, but we tuned in, dialed in. Feel like Cat, how we always winning, man. It's up.